Now, the transfer window may be rumbling on and Tottenham have only done a certain amount of business in this window, but Tottenham have always been known for producing players from their academy. And we've even seen so far this season, in the pre-season, that Tottenham have an abundance of young talent already at the club. Luka Vuskovic, Lucas Bergvall, Archie Gray are some players that are coming through at lower level to really take this team on to the next level. But today on the Sonny Talk Spurs YouTube channel, I'm going to be talking about the 16-year-old who is set to storm the Premier League this season. But before we go any further, if you are new to the Sonny Talk Spurs YouTube channel, then drop us a like, subscribe, hit the notification bell and let me know in the comments down below. What do you make of Luca Williams-Barnett? So as I was mentioning there in the intro, Thomas Frank's squad has an abundance of young talent that are ready to thrive and improve under the Danish manager. The groundwork was laid from Johan Lang and Daniel Levy to build a squad that would be younger and would grow as the years go by. We've just seen, as I say, so many youngsters being signed and procured to really take Tottenham to that next level over the coming years. But Tottenham have also been known for having quite a solid academy. And if you think about it, the players that have come through in the past, such as Harry Kane, have gone on to be some of the best footballers in world football. And even our academy now has the likes of Mikey Moore coming through, who are set to be the jewel of the crown. But even though I could pick out 1,000,001 players who have so much potential at Tottenham Hotspur, there's a player that I want to mention who has been pulling up trees for a number of years in the academy. But he's still only 16 years old, which is absolutely balmy to me. And some of you might not know who this player is, and it's Luca Williams-Barnett. So first of all, I want to give you a bit of a background on him. He came through Luton's academy and then joined on to Tottenham. He's 16 years old, as I mentioned. He turned 17 in October later this year. But we're seeing a player here who is just becoming an absolute stellar player in our academy. He predominantly plays in the under-18s and the 17s and all those denominations down in the academy. But what he showed, last year and the last couple of years, he can be an absolutely phenomenal talent. And when you put it into perspective, where you might have heard his name is that he is very famous for scoring goals from the halfway line. It seems to be his forte. But you might be wondering, Sonny, Luca Williams-Barnett, what sort of player is he? So he's predominantly a 10, but he can also play on the wing. He's not, against playing on the wing. And, if he was to come in towards trying to get into the Spurs team, you can imagine he might be put out there as well. And he is mainly a flair type player, a 10, a skiller, a dribbler, known for being strong with both feet and can really finish. I mean, his goal scoring record for the age that he is at, under 18s and FA Youth Cup. In 30 appearances, he's got 22 goals and 13 assists, which for a number 10 is absolutely unbelievable. When you compare it to maybe a Tottenham star, I feel like it's that Dele Alli-esque second striker that he's got in him. On talkSPORT, they had Adel Taarabt on, who was speaking to Jamie O'Hara and his former manager Neil Warnock. And he was sort of saying how, that old school type of play, your Hazards in the Premier League, the ones who, Gareth Bale will go at defenders and really, skill dribble and, not this modern type winger or type 10 who's just clunky and, sort of what Jack Grealish was like before he went to Manchester City when he was at Villa, like the flair, the skill and just something that's quite exciting.
Adele, honestly, mate, it's so good to speak to you. Neil's been singing your praises, and it's nice to know that you feel the same about him because people talk about it for years. And I played with you, Adele, and you were the most frustrating player ever. But the ability that you had, I always talk about it. People say to me, the best player you played with, you say, Modric, Berbatov. I say, but Adele, the ability you used to do in training when you used to just nutmeg people for fun, and you just.
Jimmy, to be honest, now I'm fan. I watch the football. I watch the Premier League, everything. Now football changed. Not like our time. Our time was so much skill, player dribbling, taking a risk. Now when I watch the game, even the Premier League, which is the best league, I am bored to watch. There is no player no more like Coutinho, Eden Hazard, and you see the price of the player. I don't like to criticize, but you see Brentford, 71 million to United. I'm thinking, imagine the price of Eden Hazard, this kind of players before. What would be now? It would be 1 billion. What would be?
Game's changed.
I know.
Crazy.
Game's changed, mate.
But I just feel like this is a player that we lack at Tottenham, maybe. You know, we've seen it with Mohammed Kudus. Like, the reason we've signed him is because he's a dribbler, because he's tricky, because he can offer something that we don't have, you know, that we currently have in the squad at all. So I really like the idea of this player being integrated. And the reason I say about integration, and, you know, a lot of you will be saying, Sonny, like how does he then make the jump? Because, you know, he's making the under-18s, 17s like his playground. Like, he's playing there at England level as well. But how does he make that jump up to Premier League? It's his dream to play in the Premier League. How does he do that? And it's quite hard, because you've got to think, when you look at academies, and, you know, the players who get heralded from our academy, like Mikey Moore, a lot of them do struggle. You know, you're not going to field 11 academy players. It's just not how football works. And a lot of them will fall by the wayside. You know, does he deserve a loan? But I mentioned it in my recent video about Thomas Frank and his changing of the coaching staff. A big position that was brought in by Johan Lang and Thomas Frank and Tottenham in general was Stuart Lewis's role. And I mentioned this on my video, as I say, recently. He's become a first-team academy transition coach. Now, a reminder, if you didn't see that video, but I recommend you go and watch it. Basically, his role, he was fundamental, Stuart Lewis, in, you know, the success of the under-18s. And Daniel Levy sees the academy as, you know, something really important to the football club. There's a reason we have a state-of-the-art training ground. But what Stuart Lewis's role is building that gap. Like, how do we get more of these youngsters in and around the first team? Because, you know, Tottenham, as we know, they do chuck a bit of money about, but, you know, they've invested a lot in the academy. So how do we take the players from here to here? Like, how do we bridge that gap? And Stuart Lewis, you know, has produced a lot of talent from that academy. So his job is to help the likes of Thomas Frank and his coaching staff get the best out of these players and make sure they're willing to play, you know, in the early cup rounds, in, you know, Carabao FA Cup. So, and we want to see more of that. We love chanting, he's one of our own, you know, for Dane Scarlett and, you know, different players like that who are coming through and really making their own. But I just feel like Williams-Barnett is just got so much potential. It is frightening how good of a player he is, and I just can't wait to see him, you know, have a real impact on this Tottenham Hotspur squad. It is going to be absolutely surreal. But let me know. So let me know in the comments down below, what do you make of Luca Williams-Barnett? Do you think he can make that step from academy to first team player this season? Or is there someone else in the academy that I've overlooked who I think, you know, you think Sonny, he needs to be starting and in and around that first team in Thomas Frank's first season at the football club. But yeah, that's all from me today. Hope you have enjoyed. And if you have enjoyed, leave your like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. And until next time, up the Spurs. I'll see you guys soon. Bye.